I'm making a multiplayer gun building game, but so far I've only shown 1v1s, which is barely multiplayer. Well, I finally got some multiplayer gameplay to show, along with new gun building systems, new gun parts, and even a new map. Devlog 5. Last devlog I showed off a new gun part wheel, but the overall feedback was, it's a little confusing. And yeah, I agree. It was a bit like trying to put your Nerf gun together blindfolded. Wait, I thought my design was unique. How did I not notice? What the fuck? I went back to the drawing board and came up with a new selection system that is, shall we say, inspired by Breath of the Wild's weapon select. First I coded the slot selection, so now the slot nearest to the ball gets highlighted. Then I whipped up the UI and painstakingly coded the parts to be visible using the filler mount. Then later that night I was lying in bed and I had an epiphany. I could have just used Unity scroll view. Anyway, after coding mouse wheel input, snapping and squashing some major bugs, here is the new selection system that hopefully doesn't hurt your brain as much. At this stage of the project, I want my game to be an economy shooter. So at the beginning of each round, players will buy parts to build their gun. So naturally, I took the long path and tried multiple visuals before settling on the loot box being the background. So after a few coding sessions, I created a monster of a script, and I hope I don't ever have to debug it. Anyway, here it is. In Devlog 3 I showed a new map, and while I still like it, I feel like I can create a map that fits my game's theme better. This time I decided to create the map purely in Blender instead of using Unity Terrain tool. So I blocked everything out, and once I was happy with the block out, I moved on to texturing the ground. This mostly involves a lot of UV unwrapping, which is just how we tell the texture to apply to the mesh. I tried quite a few textures for the map, but they were all too perfect or too detailed. So I ended up just roughly hand painting textures for a stylized look. Then I remodeled and textured these things. Peanut? Lastly, I applied the grass that I made in Devlog 3, but I had a problem. The grass doesn't receive shadows. So I came up with a solution to create a shadow map texture and then have the shader read from that texture. Yep, it's very janky. I've put it on my ever-growing list of things I should fix. Anyway, here's the map. If you want to play on the map as soon as it comes out, you might want to wishlist the game on Steam. I think everyone hates dying to the guy in the corner with his shotgun out, so screw it, no shotguns. Nah, I'm messing. I'm the guy in the corner with a shotgun. Okay, but seriously, the shotgun barrel was very hard to balance, so I have deleted it, but triple psych, I'm going to make a new shotgun core. So I opened up Blender and got to work creating a new lever action shotgun core. And yeah, it just looks mad, right? I think I had zero creative juices that day because even after adding animations and sound effects, it just didn't feel fun. So back to Blender I went, and this time I created a double barrel shotgun core. Lastly, I created an animation and added sound effects, and here's the final result. Currently, there's no melee in the game, and there's a few routes to take, so I took a poll on my Discord, which you should join by the way, and anyway, most of the votes were for adding melee weapons. So I got to work adding them. Yep, so comparing these two animations is like comparing Windows Vista to Windows 8, they're both crap. Eventually I managed to create a decent looking animation, and I even added an inspect so you could run around with your knife out. However, a few weeks later I had another epiphany. This is a gun building game, why am I adding swords? So again I deleted my work and created a new animation for melee. Look, I know the swords were cool, but trust me, I'm going to be able to make some really cool melee parts in the future. Talking about new parts, I think it's time to create some more. So I got to work creating a new underbarrel launcher. I made 3 variants of this launcher, the healing pellet launcher, the pulse mine launcher, and of course the grenade launcher. I got them into the game and created these particle effects for them. Coding the projectile was actually quite difficult though, because just spawning them server side created a huge delay when moving side to side. So I came up with another janky solution to client side, have the projectile show at the end of the barrel, and then slowly lurk towards its true position on the server. This doesn't look great on higher ping though, so I guess this is also getting added to my list of things I should fix. You can make the most beautiful game art and gameplay and story, but if gamers can't customize these little white lines, they're probably going to say your game is unplayable. So I coded a crosshair editor. The UI and controls are a little ugly, but it's functional. So I can change my crosshair to apexes, or even just make it a smiley face. Also, I coded it to save as a string so you can share your crosshair to your friends. Currently I'm making an economy based shooter, but the main incentive to play would be to get a higher rank, which requires good matchmaking, which requires a strong player base. So after a long night of thinking, I decided to change my game direction towards a progression based shooter. So I started by making the main menu and created some pretty cool particle effects to add a bit more life to the scene. Then I moved the previous buy station to the main menu, so at least that code wasn't wasted. And lastly, I got the main menu working with some placeholder stuff. Now, before I could playtest, I needed to finish a few things. I added wall penetration with new decals, added a new blood effect, improved sliding so now it takes into account the slopes, and even worked on spectating, which is getting there but still needs some work. So I uploaded my server onto Unity Multiplay and then got my friends online. So hit subscribe, wish this my game, and thanks for watching.